Welcome to a new episode of the podcast. Vox Agent is made by AI for business executives that work with AI. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something absolutely critical: the escalating AI race between the US and China. And look, this isn't just about which company builds the next big app.
No, not at all.
This is, and it's really not an exaggeration to say this, probably the single most significant geostrategic and commercial dynamic shaping the 21st century.
It really is. It's driving incredible innovation, yes, but at the same time.
Huge risks, right?
Yeah.
Geopolitical, operational, it touches every global business.
Absolutely. And that tension, that's the core challenge for you, the executive listening right now. The old way of thinking about global markets, it's dissolving.
We're moving into what you call technological bifurcation.
Exactly. Two diverging tech ecosystems. So the real question for you becomes, how do you build a global strategy, a sort of playbook that can actually leverage the strengths of both systems
While managing the friction.
while building resilience against that inherent friction? That's the mission here, to give you that actionable playbook for thriving in this new era.
Okay, so let's unpack this core schism.
Yeah.
We've got these two giants, the US and China, but they're coming at AI from really different places, fundamentally different philosophies.
Yeah, they are. And it's crucial to understand those differences because they drive so much of the friction we're seeing.
So what are they? What's the US approach versus the Chinese one?
Okay, let's take the U.S. first. It's fundamentally market-driven, private sector-led.
Think Silicon Valley, venture capital.
Exactly. VC funding fuels that high-risk, high-reward research, foundational stuff. And U.S. policy, like the White House AI Action Plan people talk about, it tends to focus on removing regulatory hurdles. Get out of the way of private enterprise.
Speed and innovation first.
Right. And this model really excels at creating those big breakthrough general-purpose AI models, the LLMs that are changing everything.
Okay, that sounds dynamic, maybe a bit chaotic. Prioritizing speed. Does that create its own set of problems, maybe with regulation or standards down the line?
It definitely can. Innovation speed is prioritized over, say, immediate centralized control or standardization. Now, contrast that sharply with the China model.
Milkshakes.
Explicitly state-directed. Think of it less like an open market and more like a national industrial mission, almost a wartime mobilization effort, but for technology and peacetime.
Okay.
You've got massive government investment, huge pools of data that are, well, relatively accessible because data governance is centralized.
Fewer privacy hurdles, maybe?
Let's say different hurdles, centralized control. And there's a very clear national mandate to integrate AI across specific strategic industries.
So if the U.S. model is maybe geared towards finding the next Google,
Yeah.
the Chinese model is more about, say, optimizing the entire national railway network or the healthcare system.
Precisely. It excels at application-specific AI, optimizing existing systems, and deploying solutions rapidly at enormous scale.
Can you give an example?
Healthcare is a really vivid one. We've seen reports about AI systems, like one called CardioMind, being trained essentially to operate as independent cardiologists by leveraging absolutely massive clinical data sets, the kind of centralized data access that would be, frankly, almost impossible under Western data privacy laws.
So it's an approach built for rapid industrial scaling, hitting national targets.
Exactly. And this fundamental philosophical split, it naturally leads us to the next big area of conflict.
Which is where it gets really interesting, I think. Moving from software and algorithms to the physical world, hardware.
Yes. And that means supply chain risk, major supply chain risk.
So what's the focal point there?
Semiconductors. Chips. That's the hardware linchpin. And it's where Washington has found, arguably, its most powerful lever in this competition.
How so?
They've quite explicitly weaponized their dominance in advanced chip technology through really aggressive export controls.
And we're not just talking about banning the sale of, like, the final finished NVIDIA GPU to China.
Oh no, it goes much deeper than that. It's about controlling the means of production, the highly specialized manufacturing equipment.
Like those ASML lithography machines from the Netherlands?
Exactly. The EUV machines needed to etch circuits at the nanoscale. And critically, also the electronic design automation software, the EDA software.
Which is mostly American-owned.
Predominantly U.S.-owned, yes. And it's absolutely essential for designing any complex modern chip. By controlling these specific upstream inputs, the U.S. aims to create a technological choke point.
To slow China down.
To slow China's progress in areas that need massive computing power, especially training those cutting-edge AI models.
And Beijing's response, predictably, they're not taking this lying down.
Not at all. We're seeing a massive national push for domestic chip self-sufficiency. It's incredibly expensive and complex, but strategically, they view it as absolutely essential and imperative.
And they're hitting back in other ways, too.
Concurrently, yes, retaliatory measures. Things like reported bans on foreign AI chips being used in state-funded data centers.
Sending a clear message.
A very clear message. Market access in China is increasingly conditional. It depends on compliance and, frankly, political alignment.
So this whole chip war, as people call it, what's the direct business implication for our listeners?
Profound supply chain uncertainty for everyone, whether you're in automotive, electronics, consumer goods. If you use advanced chips, you're exposed.
Which is basically everyone now.
Pretty much. It forces costly, really complex efforts to diversify your suppliers, build redundancy, just to ensure basic resilience.
And looming over all of this is the Taiwan situation, right? Home to TSMC, the world's biggest advanced chip maker.
Absolutely. That geopolitical risk, the vulnerability of Taiwan, it's a critical potential point of failure for this entire global tech ecosystem. It underpins all strategic AI planning right now.
A massive physical bottleneck.
Yeah.
But the friction, as you said, it doesn't stop there. It extends into the rules, the regulations.
Yes, the regulatory minefield. It's another huge compliance headache for global firms.
So for an executive trying to manage a global operation, what does this legal minefield actually look like on the ground? How does it manifest?
Well, imagine trying to run, say, one sophisticated software platform on two completely different operating systems that just fundamentally hate each other. That's kind of the situation.
How so?
Look at China's approach to governance. It's increasingly intertwined with this security over growth mentality. That translates into very restrictive data security laws, data localization mandates.
Meaning they want Chinese data to stay physically in China.
And under the control of the Chinese government. Yes, they want control over their national data assets.
And we've seen reports, haven't we, that this uncertainty, this regulatory divergence is actually starting to impact foreign investment.
It is. Sources indicate a noticeable downturn in foreign direct investment. The cost and the risk of navigating these complex, sometimes opaque, data laws are just becoming too high for some.
It makes sense.
So the practical outcome is that running a single, unified, global tech stack one system for everything worldwide is becoming increasingly difficult, maybe even untenable.
Like untenable.
Because the legal requirements clash. Rules on data privacy, on algorithmic transparency, on cross-border data flows, they're just incompatible between, say, China and the US or Europe. You end up having to duplicate infrastructure to comply.
And the U.S. approach, while maybe less centrally prescriptive, isn't simple either, is it?
No, the U.S. tends towards sector-specific regulations, market-oriented governance. It's still complex, just in a different, perhaps more fragmented way. So you're caught between these two very different, complex, and often conflicting legal regimes.
Okay, so it's clear that just trying to mitigate risk isn't enough anymore. That unified global tech dream is fading. We need to talk solutions. How do executives move beyond just surviving this split and actually find ways to gain a competitive advantage? Let's get into that executive playbook.
Right. This is where you need a shift in mindset. It requires really a kind of dualistic thinking. The core playbook, as I see it, has three main strategies.
Okay, strategy one.
Strategy one is embracing a bifurcated operational model. You have to consciously develop strategies that engage selectively with both ecosystems, tapping into their unique strengths.
So not picking a side, but playing on both fields.
Exactly. You can't afford to just choose one. This means building localized technology stacks, separate systems, separate data governance frameworks, all tailored to meet those disparate regional regulations.
Can you give us a really concrete example? Walk us through how a company might actually do that.
Sure. Let's take a large global manufacturing company. They might leverage the U.S. ecosystem, Silicon Valley, top universities, for their really advanced foundational R&D.
Developing core AI models.
Precisely. Developing their proprietary generative AI using sophisticated LLMs for complex simulations, things where that U.S. private sector innovation really shines.
Okay.
Simultaneously, they'd utilize the Chinese market and its ecosystem for different tasks, maybe high-volume activities where China excels.
Like what?
Like using specialized Chinese-trained AI models for rapid prototyping on their factory floors in Asia, or optimizing complex logistics within their Asian supply chains, or even tasks like high-volume data annotation, which can often be done more cost-effectively there.
But the key is keeping things separate.
Absolutely critical. Rigid separation of the data pipelines. You ensure your sensitive U.S. R&D data, for example, never crosses into the China-governed environment, and vice versa. Strict compliance firewalls.
Wow, that sounds incredibly complex to manage, especially for maybe a mid-sized global company. It sounds like you're almost doubling your IT footprint, your compliance team.
It is incredibly difficult, and it is costly. And that leads directly into strategy, too.
Which is?
Cultivating resilience and accepting the cost. You, as an executive, have to explicitly accept that this bifurcation, this resilience, isn't free. It comes at a premium. You're likely sacrificing some short-term efficiency for long-term survival.
So resilience costs money.
Resilience costs money. You have to rigorously de-risk your supply chains. That means actively diversifying your suppliers for critical AI components, chips, software, maybe even cloud providers, making sure you're not reliant on just one geopolitical bloc.
Hedging against those sudden export controls or retaliatory actions we talked about.
Exactly. Finding second, maybe even third sources, potentially in neutral regions, becomes essential.
If we think about, say, a perfectly efficient global operation from the pre-bifurcation era as 100%, what kind of hit are we talking about? What's the cost of this resilience premium?
Look, estimates vary, but for robust diversification, setting up dual sourcing, separate data systems, redundant compliance efforts, many analyses suggest you could be looking at adding, say, 15 to 20% to your core operational technology costs.
That's significant.
It's very significant. But the point is, it's shifting from being a nice-to-have insurance policy to being the fundamental cost of doing business globally in this new era. Ignoring this is inviting potentially catastrophic failure down the line if or when geopolitical events disrupt things.
Okay, that's a sobering thought. So strategy 1, bifurcate operations. Strategy 2, build resilience, accept the cost. What's strategy 3?
Strategy 3 is about strategic alliances and collaboration, because doing all of this heavy lifting internally is immensely difficult and expensive, as you pointed out.
So partner up.
Partner up, build a robust ecosystem. This means finding partners who already have expertise in navigating those specific localized regulatory landscapes. Maybe a local partner in China who understands the data laws deeply.
But it's not just about offloading compliance risk, is it?
No, there can be real innovation benefits, too.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We've actually seen data, compelling research showing that even with all the political tension, certain cross-border collaborations, say, between specific U.S. and Chinese academic labs or even some private sector initiatives, have actually produced more impactful AI research results than purely domestic efforts.
Really? Why would that be, given the tensions?
Because collaboration, when structured carefully, gives you access to complementary strengths. Different talent pools, maybe different regulatory sandboxes for testing ideas, and crucially, access to those unique, large-scale data sets that are often siloed within each ecosystem.
So leveraging U.S. foundational research strength with Chinese application data strength.
Potentially, yes. If, and it's a big if, the intellectual property and data governance rules are meticulously managed and respected, it allows you to achieve things neither side could easily do alone. So wrapping this up, looking ahead, the key factor determining market leadership won't be about picking the winning side, U.S. or China.
It's not about allegiance.
Not at all. Success will belong to those organizations that cultivate strategic agility, the ones who can see this technological fragmentation, not just as a problem, but as a new set of operating constraints that, if you navigate them skillfully, can actually become a source of competitive advantage.
Strategic agility.
Yeah.
That really feels like the core concept for executives listening. And thinking ahead, the implications just keep expanding, don't they?
They do.
The competitive edge seems to be shifting. Maybe less focus on building the biggest general purchase model, because those were becoming almost commoditized.
Right.
And more towards specialized, domain-specific AI, like that CardioMind example, or AI perfectly tuned for specific factory floor.
Exactly. Application-specific intelligence. And this trend towards bifurcation, it looks like it's here to stay, it's solidifying, which means...
Other players become more important.
Precisely. The strategic importance of what you might call middle ground economic blocks is going to grow significantly. Think the European Union, think India.
Why them?
They'll likely become increasingly influential in setting standards, particularly around things like data governance, digital services, AI ethics. They become crucial third poles in this evolving landscape.
So it's not just a bipolar world, U.S. versus China. It's becoming multipolar.
A truly multipolar AI world, which means fundamentally the era of a single, relatively seamless global technology market That's over.
It's done.
It's done. The era of strategic navigation, of localized operations, of dualistic thinking, that has well and truly begun.
Thank you for joining the podcast, and see you soon.